Hey, it's Joddie Taylor, SnackySays. Welcome back to my podcast, the SnackySays podcast. Today I am chatting about what I'm watching, health and fitness edition. This is the health and fitness edition of what I'm watching. So let's just hop on into it. So I have about 10 or 12 things that I've been watching / listening to, and I'm going to share them in a moment, but I wanted to chat a bit first to give some context and background and kind of what to expect and like my reasoning behind why I pick the things I pick if you're interested. So let's hop on into it. So first of all of what I'm watching, I watched it all on YouTube. Some of it, or at least two of the things that I'm going to share, are available as podcasts. So you could just simply go to your favorite podcast platform and just listen to it in podcast form. I have YouTube Premium because YouTube made me. The commercials are fast and furious and very poorly, I believe, intentionally timed. So I can't even listen to anything or watch anything without commercials every 2 seconds. It's extremely annoying. I've complained about this before, but even a 5-minute warm-up video, there'll be like 3 commercials, and they are always tiny rabbit hole. I'm gonna bring it on home in a second. Those commercials are always the opposite. You know how the algorithm is supposed to be all about you and like your preferences and stuff, at least in my mind. Do you find that that's true too? I can't tell you how many workout videos I've done before I got YouTube Premium, and it would be like a Burger King commercial and like a milkshake. And I'm trying to work out, people. Like the distractions. And it's so funny. It's like, now I want a burger. They were killing me. So I had to get YouTube Premium. I don't even eat burgers. But anyway, so I had to get YouTube Premium. Am I recommending it? Not wholeheartedly, because I get annoyed every time I think about that bill, which I pay annually, and they hiked the price up. Let me wrap up this rabbit hole. So I mentioned YouTube Premium because I know that I share a lot of YouTube links, and I sometimes forget. Like somebody was talking about something on YouTube the other day, and they were like, "Oh, all these commercials," and I forget because I have YouTube Premium, so I don't have the commercials. It's a lot of money, in my opinion. It's like $150, and before it was $130, and before that it was probably $100. It's a lot of money. Rabbit hole. Let's move on. But that's just the context of how I'm listening to the videos and how I'm able to download. There might be an app, I don't know, that you could use to download videos. Oh, unless you have, okay, this is important. If you have unlimited data on your phone, I do not. I pay by the gigabyte, so my data is always off, but my phone bill's $30 a month. If you have unlimited data, sure, you don't need to get YouTube Premium. You can just listen to that bad boy. But I find without unlimited data, you have YouTube open and you're listening to an hour-long video or even 10, 15 minutes. It's amazing how much data that eats up. Okay. The other thing, so it's fitness, right? Fitness, this is my opinion. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a fitness professional. It ain't my first rodeo, though. I have been pursuing fitness for many, many years. I basically only kind of stick to talking about the last 7 years because it's been consistent. But fitness is an evolution, right? So with a lot of things that I listen to and some of the things that I share, you will hear people say something like, well, I used to count calories and now I don't. Well, I used to eat processed food and now I don't. I'm bulking and this is what I'm doing for bulking. I no longer do A, B, and C for bulking. So it's about evolving. And sometimes people circle back, like with nutrition. I used to be an omnivore. And I think I may well be an omnivore again, because my needs might change. My tastes might change. The day where I'm like, I gotta have a steak, I think I'm just gonna have a steak and done. I have seen it too many times. Life is long, thank God. Life is long. And so, of course, people change and they evolve and sometimes they go back to their roots. All of this is to prep you if you decide to listen to any of the things I share, or if you go on your own, and I hope you go on your own YouTube adventure and find things that you want to listen to and educate yourself around with fitness. What I'm saying is, listen with almost a grain of salt, because you are listening or watching someone where they are right now. And some of these videos that I'm sharing are like 3 years old, or where they were 3 years ago. So keep that in mind, and keep in mind what works for them may not work for you. You may find yourself like vehemently disagreeing with what they're saying. And I actually love that for you, because it means you're like processing and you're like, nah, that's not going to work for me because A, B, and C, or hey, I want to try it. But again, a grain of salt, because I promise you, if you go through a fitness person's content, especially if they've been around for a long time, you will find that more often than not, they no longer do things they used to do for a variety of reasons. It could be injuries. It could be life is lifing. They have kids. They have elder care. It just no longer suits them. They're going through menopause. I mean, any number of things. One thing that I have found just in the stuff that I'm listening to around aging, I want to talk about that for a second, is that it's never too late to start moving your body, to start strength training, to doing resistance training. And you'll hear that in maybe 2 or 3 of the things that I'm sharing. Do your due diligence. Like I said, go to YouTube yourself, go to Google yourself, and look it up. The news is, I think, very, very encouraging. If you haven't worked out in a long time, if you feel like you want to do something different, but it's going to be a slog, well, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be a slog. Fitness is a lifetime journey, so it takes time. I have been consistently moving my body for 7 years, almost 7 years. I keep saying 7, it'll be 7 in July. And I was a good 3 years in before I felt like I look and feel, in my mind anyway, I don't know how other people saw me, and I guess it doesn't matter, but to me, 3 years in, I was like, I look and I feel like I'll work out. And it wasn't overnight, it was years and years. Part of it too was I wasn't pushing myself at some point. I wasn't pushing myself as hard as I could have. I wasn't challenging myself. Sometimes I was kind of phoning it in, and I'm done with that. So the last couple of years I've been more, is that right? Last 2 years or so, maybe more than that now, I've been challenging myself more. Not a whole lot more, but enough. And I'm going to continue to add to that. Okay, so that was a very long intro, and I'm going to comment some more. So I'm going to briefly go through the videos. And I think in the show notes, let's talk about show notes for a second. I am probably just going to put the title and the video, because my sense is, and I know sometimes analytics can be wrong. For example, Substack doesn't show that folks listen on Google Podcasts, but thank you to Google Podcasts for sending me data, because it seems like 90% of the folks listening to my voice right now are listening via Google Podcasts, not Spotify, not Apple Podcasts, not Substack, but actually Google Podcasts. I thank you and I appreciate you wherever you're listening from. But according to the data I'm looking at, it doesn't look like folks check out show notes all that much. And if they do, it seems like they don't click on links all that much. And so my sense is you're just listening to my voice. And if you want, you're wandering over to YouTube or wherever. So for this episode, instead of, doing a whole biblical, that's not true, I'm exaggerating. Instead of typing up a little story and a little ditty, I'm just going to say the name of the video and who posted the video, because I think that's better. But maybe I'll continue to experiment with this. Okay, so we're going to get into the videos that I listen to. These I listen to on walks, and I may have implied this, but I want to say it very clearly. Amongst these folks and amongst these videos, there's going to be information that contradicts. So one person, I'll give you an example. One person, actually a couple people say things like, I eat A, B, and C in moderation. Moderation is key. And there's someone else, like the very first 2 minutes of that podcast, that says, I hate the expression all things in moderation, because are you going to have poison in moderation? So I'm kind of paraphrasing. So again, like everybody in my opinion, has their own, what I call fitness formula, the things that work for you right now that are going to change. So 7 years ago, I could not have, there is no way I could be doing the workouts that I'm doing now. And I thought that I could. I actually started out with Millionaire Hoy's advanced workouts, and my body was like, please stop it. Have every seat, okay? You find a beginner workout and stop your ridiculousness. but now I can do advanced. Well, I'm currently injured. I injured my right knee, but I can't. So now I'm just chilling today. Actually, it's like a real rest day. But anyway, so context, and let's finally get into it. I want to start with Daddy Noel, as he's known in the comments of his YouTube channel, Noel Deyzel. He is South African. He is a bodybuilder. And I am not a bodybuilder. You don't have to be a bodybuilder to be into his content. He seems like a sweet soul. Of course, I don't know him, and it's the internet and YouTube, but I enjoy his content. And here he is. It's called Grocery Shopping for Gains, Full Body Grocery Haul. He went to Walmart. And again, he's South African. So for me, it's always interesting to see folks who are not from America go grocery shopping or go to a restaurant in America, because their comments are always very interesting. And he was just kind of like, wow, look at the size of this stuff. I'm sure, like, he's been in America for a while. He lives here. Well, I think it's been a few months. But anyway, he's like, look at the size of this stuff. And he's like showing cookies that he got addicted to. He's like, what's in this stuff? And you'll hear in another video that I shared that, well, here in America, our food has addictive qualities, more so than other countries, because certain ingredients are banned in other countries. So that's part of it. Do your due diligence. Don't just go by me. Anyway, I found this to be a short and sweet listen, and it was very funny. I just enjoyed it. I think he, again, is a sweet soul. And you don't have to copy what he's eating, but if you're interested in hearing, well, how much, he doesn't really go into numbers of every single thing, but I like how he comments about like, oh, well, this is good for protein. And oh, when I was bulking and now I'm cutting. I found it interesting. If you're keen, check it out as well. Next up, how soda companies are running America like the mob. Wow, what a title. And that, this is the Spillover with Alex Clark. It is a podcast. My twin brother sent me one of her clips from Instagram, and it was a clip of this interview with Vani Hari. And I was so intrigued by the clip that I went ahead and I found the whole podcast on YouTube, the whole podcast episode. It's almost a couple of hours long, but I listened to it over 2 days, 2 different walks. Lots of takeaways here for me, but for you, you might find other things interesting. I will admit, about 3 minutes in, very early in. I mean, I think it was before the intro, the podcast host is like, well, we have this conservative women's conference coming up or something like that. And I was like, whoa. What's going on? What's going on here? I just wanted to learn about like food activists. What? And then I said to myself, chill. Let's listen and let's be open. I started this whole thing, this whole spiel, right, about evolutions and taking things with a grain of salt. And what I really meant is to be open and to be curious, right? And I didn't have to be afraid of politics. I'm glad that I listened to the whole episode. I really am. Is food political? Yeah, I think so. But listen to the episode. Besides, they do talk about politics and mention politics, but I don't think it's done in a way, if I'm not, memory serves, they're both now independent. One of them for sure is independent, and the other described herself as conservative, which is, give it a listen. But I just want you to know, because I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know who Alex Clark was, and so maybe you're like, Alex Clark, duh. I didn't know. I know. Would I listen to her podcast again? Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed this one. So Vani Hari is the person who said she doesn't like that expression, all things in moderation, just to kind of a quick callback from a couple of minutes ago. I will say, do your due diligence. One key takeaway, well, there are a few key takeaways I got from this, was to ask questions. Ask questions. Maybe you're not reading every single label, but when you're eating out, particularly if it's fast food and that information is readily available, probably thanks to this food activist because she's been around for a long time, or in part thanks to her. No rabbit holes here. It's good to, you might consider asking questions. Like back in the day, I used to think, oh, KFC. I am picking on KFC. That's the one that came to mind. KFC, which was not my favorite chicken, but fine. KFC, it's chicken. I never thought about where the chicken came from. Never. But over time, people started talking, media started talking about, well, where exactly does this chicken come from? And what's in it? What is healthy? Going back to that argument of moderation, I think it's tied in with, in my mind anyway, restriction. Like, I don't eat this, and that. This isn't good for you. And I could argue it either way because I've done both. I've been like, you can't see me, I'm doing a cute dance. Like, yeah, gonna eat this. Ooh, ooh. Oh man. Oh man. And then I think I went the other way where it's like, no. And that didn't really work either because I do love my snacks. And, I've spoken about this before, but I went through this phase where I was just eating one ingredient snacks like an apple, raisins. And those are great, but sometimes you just want a cookie. Now, what Vani Hari is saying is she's not against cookies. It's like, well, what's in the cookie? Are there modified ingredients? Are there chemicals? I'm paraphrasing what she said. Check out the episode. But are there things that are going to make you sick? Are there ingredients that have side effects? Those are, I think, some solid questions to ask. There's a problem with everything. And as someone who's been going to YouTube University for a few years now, and I think I've spoken about this before too, I have listened and watched YouTube videos and been like, all right, cool. Don't eat this, eat that. Got it. And I was watching Dr. Sten Ekberg, who I love. I love his content. And it was a video on like things that you should not eat. And he said bananas. And I was like, we're done here. Okay, stop. Just no. So it's your fitness formula. Like what works for you right now? What doesn't work? What are you willing to like add? That's another way to think of it. Like, I want to add more fruits. What can you do right now? Okay, let's move on. I have a ton of videos. Let me try to do them quickly because it's almost 20 minutes. Stretch. Okay, resistance training, how to stay strong as you age. Zoe Science and Nutrition Podcast. This is a great podcast. I listen to it from time to time. It's always informative. And I feel like, I don't want to use the word trendy, but it's like when something is top of mind, I swear, I don't know what it is, Zoe will like drop a podcast episode about it. They're on YouTube. You can listen on your podcast player and on YouTube. Key takeaway I got from this video, which I really didn't watch, I listened to, was you can start strength training at any time and see gains. You could be in your 70s and you will see a difference within, I think they said months, within a month, let's say, within a few weeks. So strength training is always a good idea. And it really helps your body like, hey, we moving, we shaking. Unfortunately, even though it's laptop lifestyle for a lot of folks, even though we're sitting a lot, our bodies, and they mentioned this in the podcast, really haven't evolved. As far as our bodies knows, we're supposed to be out, hunting and gathering. So yes, work is no longer the workout. So we have to find ways to move. My opinion, do what you want. Next up, what I eat in a week, women over 40, Chalene Johnson. I used to listen to her podcast. I don't know why I stopped. She has so many gems. Why did I stop listening to her podcast? I used to subscribe to it. Now I'm following her on YouTube, and I just love what she has to say. This is an example of evolution. Listen to her if you're keen, listen to her last few episodes. You can watch it on YouTube or listen to it. And she is very transparent on I used to eat this way. I used to work out this way. I used to be hardcore. and now I'm more relaxed, and she's happier. And like, look this up yourself. I've experienced this, and you'll see this pop up in fitness content and maybe even in some things that I'm sharing here. But the less stressed you are, I'll talk about myself. The less stressed I am, the easier it is, or more seamless, smooth it is for me to reach goals, fitness goals or whatever. I didn't share it here. I'll have to remember when I listen back to this. Maybe I'll add it. But there was another, I don't even have one video from her. I'm blanking on her name. I'll put it in the show notes. But there was another video I was watching on losing belly fat after 40. And her number one tip, or chronologically, the first tip she gave was like, reduce your stress. If you've ever, this is the example she gave in the video, if you've ever gone on vacation, you're eating your rich foods, you live in La Vida Loca, and you come back and your pants are loose and you actually like lost weight, that's because you're having a good time and you're not stressed. That goes such a very long way in our fitness, or my fitness, for sure. I'm telling you, I work miracles every year because I stay stressed and I'm always trying to reduce my stress. It's like top of mind. It's just true. It's just true. So something to consider. Okay, so Chalene, what I like about her, what I like about this episode, she did what I eat in a week. And I think that's a really great zoom out to see like how she's eating in a week as opposed to a day. You know, if you've heard my voice before and you've like been in the newsletter and podcast show notes and stuff, I love a what I eat in a day video. I love those things. I still love them. What I eat in a week is more realistic because it's a big zoom out. So she happens to eat out at restaurants 3 or 4 times a week. That's not something that would be captured so much in what I eat in a day. I like how she uses like restaurants, talks about restaurant stuff, what she's making at home, or actually what her hubby is making at home. She says she doesn't like to cook, or she's not great at it, she says. And she has a funny video of like she's literally cooking and the pan is on fire. Good stuff here. One thing I want to point out is that she says she does not measure food. In my opinion, when people say this and they are fitness folks, fitness influencers, fitness trainers, keep in mind that this is their job and they started out measuring and they've been measuring 10, 20 years and they just stopped. She knows what a tablespoon looks like. If you don't believe me, watch the video and she'll say like, oh, I'm not measuring it. And she says, but I think it's about 2 tablespoons. And you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's like 2 tablespoons. She's on it. So I'm not going to get on my soapbox about intuitive eating, but folks who say I don't measure, just anecdotally, my observation is they've measured for many, many years. Like I might be one of those people who, you could probably tell by my tone of voice, I think are a little obnoxious, but because I tend to be obnoxious, I may be one of those people one day. I measure my food a lot. And eventually I might get to the point where I'm like, yep, that's 120 grams. But of course I would know that at some point because I've been measuring so long. All right, let's move on. Sorry. Next up, I sometimes listen to workout videos, like someone working out, like Keisha Collins, or in this case, Massey Arias. Why am I listening to a workout video? Because they have tips. I got a great tip from Massey Arias. The video is the perfect legs and glutes workout for women and beginners at home or gym. This is like less than 5 minutes into the video. She's doing the warm up and she calls the move the shin box 90-90. When you see the move, if you do this move, it's in a lot of mobility, stretch, and like leg workouts like here. I move a lot when I do this workout. I start one place on the mat and then I'm all the way up front, off the mat, or all the way back. And her tip was to keep your heels on the floor if you want to end up in the same place that you started. And I've done it twice already since I listened to this video, and it's been a game changer. I'm no longer moving all over the place. So that's like another thing. What I'm trying to say, I'm trying to say a lot of things with these videos and these things that I'm choosing to share, is on the surface, you might feel like, I'm not doing a legs workout. That's true. but there might be some tips for you. You can learn something. So I actually do this move that she calls the Shimbox 90-90. I've heard it called something else, but I can't remember right now. I actually do it mostly in mobility routines. And if I didn't watch this video or really listen to it, but I did go back and watch it later because I was like, let me see. Oh yeah, she really doesn't move. If I didn't listen to it, if I didn't watch it, I would have never known that tip, and it's been so helpful already. Okay, next up. So here's another example of like, why should I listen to this? I have 3 videos, the next 3 videos. 2 of the women are tall. They're around my height. I'm 5'11". The first one is she said she was 5'10", and the next person is 6 feet tall. And then I'm going to share another video. She is, I think, 5'2". Different heights, right? It's actually rare for me to find. People don't actually talk about their height all that much in fitness. So I went looking for women who were around my height because that helps me gauge a little bit. So we have different builds, and of course we're different people. We eat differently, but it's just interesting to me. So the first person is Adore Monifa. This video is from 3 years ago. It's called My Weight Loss Journey, How I Lost 30 Pounds in 2 months. So at 5'10", she was 230 pounds. She's lost 30 pounds. I'm telling you, like, if she didn't say she was 230 pounds, I wouldn't have guessed she was 230 pounds. So it's really interesting when you know, at least to me, when you know someone's height, to be like, oh, okay. Like, I think I would look differently at 230 pounds. I think in my mind, I'm probably going off on a rabbit hole, but I think I would look like 230 pounds, and I didn't see that at all. Not that it matters, but here she eats 1 meal a day. She drinks tea most of the day. I guess it's a form of intermittent fasting, even though I don't think she quite said that. And I don't know if she had milk in her tea, but I think it was just plain tea. That's not for me, but so what? I enjoyed this video. I enjoyed, and she's Jamaican, so she had a part where she was talking about like she gained weight, and her family was very honest with her about her weight gain, as Jamaicans will do. If you're a Jamaican, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I was like keying, walking and listening to this video. So this is just her story and her journey and how she lost the weight. Keep in mind, my opinion, do your due diligence. The more weight you have to lose, the faster it will come off. So it's not too surprising that she knocked off 30 pounds in 2 months. But again, do your due diligence, look it up. The next person is Nikki Gets Fit. She's 6 feet. She lost 70 pounds. And this is about how long it takes to see physical changes during weight loss. So she used Weight Watchers, which I haven't done, but I know folks have had great success with it. She started at 252 pounds. My key takeaway here was, and Paul Ravalia spoke about this recently, progress pics. Sometimes I forget when I take pics. I actually don't take them all that often. I take like the front and side, but don't forget to take your back. Both of these folks reminded me recently. Take a photo of your back, especially if it's your first rodeo and you're not really sure where you're gaining or losing weight. So both of them commented, both Paul Ravalia and Nikki Gets Fit, that they gain and lose weight a lot in their back and midsection. For him, it was his back. And it wasn't until he started taking photos of his back, he was like, oh, wow, I didn't see my weight loss anywhere else, but I saw it on my back. So I thought that was interesting. So one way to measure, skippity, skip, if you're not into measuring, is to do progress photos. But my key takeaway here, and I'm conflating actually a couple of videos, was I guess that would be a 360 shot. Do the front, the back, and both sides. Get a full picture, because sometimes if you just go by the scale or your measurements, like do a whole 360. I talk about this from time to time, and it's something that I don't do consistently, and I wish that I would, and stop just being like, hey, here's something you can do. But if you want a 360 picture, the weight, like for example, I've been on a streak lately. I'm moving a lot, eating a lot, well, before this injury, and I'm not losing weight, but I see a difference in the mirror. So it's not always about the scale. or always about the progress pictures. Maybe you need to measure instead. Again, skippity skip, skip, skip if you're not into measurements. Next up, for my petite queens, from April Whitney, she has a video called 21 Day New Year's Plan to Beat Skinny Fat in 2024. I personally am all about the long game. So when I think about my fitness goals, I usually have months long, maybe as long as a year, plans to get stuff done. So, I did find it interesting. I'm not 5'2". I don't think I've ever been petite a day in my life. I think I just skipped right over that. I mean, by 13, I think I was already 5'8". So 5'7", 5'8". So that ship has sailed. That ship never even docked. But I found what she said interesting. I just like hearing about fitness journeys. Next up, easy homemade snacks for your family. This is from the From Scratch Homestead. I'll have the proper YouTube channel name in the show notes. This is one of those videos where 5 minutes in, I got my key takeaway. So she said two things that stuck out to me. She was listening to a podcast, and there was a dentist who said he sees kids with cavities not from candy, but from goldfish crackers. What? Mind blown. Like, that's how much sugar is in goldfish crackers? So she decided, well, I'm sure that's not the only reason, but she's making snacks at home. The other takeaway, which is related to the podcast she was listening to, is basically over time, snacks are becoming more frequent, but less nutritious. So depending on your age, maybe you used to have 3 square meals a day or 2 meals and not really a lot of snacks. Your age or your living environment or where you grew up. But it's fair to say, at least around here, it's definitely snackety snack time all the time. I personally love my snacks, but we can change up how we eat our snacks. I don't have anything, I'm not the snack police at all. But there's some good options here. For the most part, I wouldn't eat anything that she made just because I don't eat dairy and I don't eat eggs, but I still watched the video and I still enjoyed it. And if I ever eat those things again, now I know where to circle back for some snacks I can enjoy. Okay, next up, should I stop here? We're over 30 minutes in. Okay, I'll just mention the next 2 videos, and I do have another video I want to share. It was the one on belly fat, but I'm blanking on the person's name, so I'll put that in the show notes. It'll be 12 videos total. This is for editing Joddie, so I remember to put that video in. So the last 2 videos, this needs to be said, calories matter, excuses, where to start, vegan Michelle. There was a lot of good stuff in this video, which I still haven't watched. I listened to it twice on 2 different walks. And I know for some people this might be unpopular, and I think this is why she titled it this way. And you'll hear other fitness folks say it too, or fitness YouTubers. At the end of the day, if you are trying to lose weight, calories do matter. Like, you have to be in well, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to take my word for it. Experiment yourself. But basically, in my experience and what she's saying here in part is you have to be in a calorie deficit. And I'm laughing because there's a part where she's like, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what she was saying. Like, so you've had a long day and you've eaten 2 cookies. Then you decide to eat the rest of the bag. And I literally thought, yeah. And she's like, no, instead you can just stop there. And I was like, oh, oh yes, I could just stop there. But I am of the mind, to her point, I think this video was made for me. Hey, if I am already walking on thin ice, I might as well dance. I'm like, let's finish the box. Don't follow me. Watch her video. She has some really great suggestions. Okay, next up, the #1 diet to lose fat for good, Jeremy Ethier, I think is how he pronounces his last name. If you like science-backed videos, information around fitness, then this is the gentleman for you. I love his content. I feel like he uses himself as my words, not his, but he uses himself as a little bit of a lab rat. And like, he's like, okay, we're going to try this and we're going to try this. And how about this? So he does actually try things out. And then he's like, here's the data. Here are some studies. I like that he mentioned here, which doesn't always come up in fitness related content. He is half Filipino, so he eats, his mom will cook certain things. And when you get usually a nutritional, in my experience, you get a nutritional book, a diet book, a cookbook, they don't factor in things. Even like, tell me folks, if you're on Weight Watchers, I know this used to be the case, but maybe it's since changed. Like even my Fitness Pal, which I use, right? It's like, you can put in something like ackee or plantain or saltfish and banana. You could put it in, but it's gonna be like guesstimates, as opposed to if you put in something like, I'm making this up, hamburger, spaghetti. You're really guesstimating when you're going into apps and you're trying to eat a healthier lifestyle. And let's say your diet is 100% a Jamaican diet. You're kind of, how can I put this? I don't want to say winging it, but in my experience anyway, and I'm not saying I eat 100% Jamaican diet, nowhere near it, but in my experience when I'm trying to eat following a cookbook, it's like, oh, I don't have these ingredients and I don't eat this way, but let me tweak it. It's 2024, so there's a lot more available. You could probably I know you can definitely find like a Caribbean vegan cookbook nowadays. Things are changing, but I love to come across content that includes like, hey, I like to eat this food that's important to me and my upbringing and my culture. Okay, this, my friends, may well go down. I'm just curious. I would say this may well go down as my longest episode ever. I'm going to check. I feel like I might have one that's longer. Check real quick while you're my digital hostage. I am itching to see what that message is, but don't. Oh, wow. Look at this. Thank you. I have all these new podcast downloads. What happened? Thank you. All right. Time-wise. Oh, this is not where I sorted by time. Okay. I think it's this one. I'm just going to check real quick. Nope. This is actually pretty short. Okay. The one I just clicked on. Let me stop here. Listen, I appreciate you. This is stuff that I enjoy talking about. Like, obviously, we're 37 minutes in. I could talk about this all day. I am so interested in fitness and health and what folks have to say about it and what I can learn from them and what I might disagree on and what I have to think about. Sometimes I hear something or I learn about something and I'm like, absolutely not. I will never do that. I would not do that. Why would you do that? And then time passes and I'm like, So it plants a seed. So TLDR, stay open, be curious, and maybe take a page from my bookity book and listen to everything. You're not 5'2", you're not a woman, you're not 50, you're not 25. Digest everything. You're not a bodybuilder, so what? So what? There's so much that we can learn from each other. Like maybe you used to eat a certain way, maybe you used to move a certain way, maybe you want some new ideas. Listen to everything. And if it don't apply, let it fly. Okay, I'm hopping off my soapbox. Hop. Thanks again for listening. If you got this far, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed this podcast episode or any of my podcast episodes, please be sure to subscribe. Please share with a friend or three, and you can check me out at joddie.substack.com. That's joddie.substack.com. Thank you for listening.